everyone, I'm Raven Maureen and welcome back to the Simplicity channel. Today we're going to be making McCall's 8591. So go ahead and grab your sewing tools, cut out your pattern, and let's get started. So we'll be making view A. You're going to need pattern piece number 1, which is the bodice front. You're going to cut 1 on the fold. Pattern piece number 2, this is the bodice back. You're going to cut 1 on the fold. Pattern piece number 3, you're going to cut 2. Pattern piece number 7, this is the panties back. Pattern piece number 6, this is the panties front. And for the front and the back, you're going to be cutting 1 on the fold. Pattern piece number 5, this is the elastic for the sleeve. Keep in mind when you're measuring out your elastic, you're not going to stretch it as you're measuring it out. You'll lay it just naturally. Pattern piece number 4, this is the elastic guide upper. This is for the neckline. Pattern piece number 8, this is for the waist. And pattern piece number 9, which is the elastic guide for the leg up openings, and you're going to cut 2 of these. So if you look on the front, you'll notice that the bodice has shirring, and so this tutorial is going to include some shirring with this pattern. I will mention that if you are not comfortable with shirring, definitely take a few test strips and test it out like I've done here. The art of shirring is going to be a mix of your machine settings, your tension, and even the elastic that you're using. So this is shirring elastic. I bought it in bulk many years ago. It's still pretty healthy, still has a great bit of elastic. But if you can buy something like this on Amazon, and then the next thing you're going to do, so your top thread is going to be just that thread. Your bobbin thread is actually going to be shirring. And I always recommend you have 2 or 3 bobbins, empty bobbins that are laying around. That way you can do this step. So when you are getting ready to prep your machine for shirring, you're going to have to hand wind your bobbin with the shirring. I don't recommend doing it with your machine, although if you feel comfortable with that, that's fine. But I will show you the hand winding way. Now, if you can see here, when you are hand winding, put your shirring elastic through that top hole right there and hold it if you can. And your elastic should be taut, as they say, or there should be some resistance here. And you want to make sure that as you're winding the bobbin, that you are not winding out of sequence, but more or less winding as if you would wind a cord up. And again, you should be stretching your elastic, not to the point where it won't stretch anymore, but to the point where it has a little bit of spring and give into it. So not like super tight, but just enough where you feel like it starts to wind itself up on its own. And again, those coils, making sure that the coils are just naturally falling into place, but not overlapping so much. You're treating it like it's thread, basically. So I would do this for about 2 or 3 bobbins, and then go ahead and test your machine out. Now, when you are testing out your machine, I have a Janome Skyline, and this is no advertisement for Janome, but for my specific machine, I like to keep my stitch length at around 4.0 for shirring. I find that, and I've done shearing on a couple of different machines, I find that between a 3.0 and a 5.0 stitch length is usually a sweet spot for shearing. You don't want to overload your bobbin, but you don't want it to be too thin either, because then you'll run out of your shearing really quickly. And I would do a couple of test strips. You're going to get it right eventually. Sounds that you want to listen out for when you are doing your shearing. You're gonna hear a little bit of like a squeak from your machine, but by no means should it sound like it's eating something up. It just will sound more like a squeak. So I feel like this is enough shearing on here. So I'm just gonna snip it and set it to the side. It's gonna unravel a little bit, that's okay. And then we're gonna do this for the second one as well. So remember, you want your upper thread to be normal, but then your bobbin thread is gonna be your shearing. So I'm gonna show you how I place this in here. So when placing your bobbin thread in your machine, hold your finger on the bobbin, twist it all the way around following the track, right? And you'll feel a little bit of resistance, and then place the lid on top, just like that. So for pattern piece number 1 and number 2, transfer your broken lines that are on your pattern paper to your bodice piece. And then we are going to take this to our machine and shear across each of these lines. Okay, then lift your presser foot and snip this off. If you try to cut it with your machine, sometimes it doesn't work. It's an extra step, but it is helpful. And so you'll do this for each row. So make sure your iron has a little bit of water in it to create steam. And what you're going to do is you're going to hover it over the shirring. You may even see some of the areas kind of shrivel up a little bit more. That's just to kind of like perk up the shirring a little bit. Your edges should be a little bit straighter because we are going to baste it. I know it's kind of hard to tell the shape of this right now, but this is the top part with the armholes, and so we're going to baste this down. That way it's more secure, and we'll be able to connect this to our back piece. So go ahead and repeat these steps for the back part as well for pattern piece number 2, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, now placing right sides together for the front bodice piece and the back bodice piece, we're going to stitch along the side seams here. All right, now we're going to work on sewing our sleeves. So grab your sleeve piece, which is pattern piece number 3 or 12, and go ahead and finish that raw edge on the side there. And then we're going to do a stitch at 5/8 at our machine. Okay, so over on my iron, I have pressed the seam open, and then I've done a narrow press under about 1/4 of an inch on the sleeve hem. And then I'm going to take my seam gauge and I'm going to measure at 5/8 and do another turn up. Okay, so about 7/8 from the new bottom hem, you're going to draw a line. And this is your line for your casing for your bias tape. So now that we have our casing line, we are going to put our bias tape along that line for our elastic for the sleeve. All right, so now we're going to attach our bias tape. This is pre-purchased bias tape. So I'm going to take the raw edge and I'm going to fold it along the seam line, and the bottom edge of the bias tape is going to match up with my chalk marking. So yeah, I've pinned all the way around the sleeve, and I've left a little extra just in case. So now I'm going to take this to my machine and I'm going to edge stitch around the edges of my bias tape. And I'm going to stop just before I finish with this. cap to the other side. I'm going to pick up where I left off, lowering my needle. All right, so I used my elastic guide for sleeve B, and I'm going to put a safety pin through here, and I'm going to funnel it through this guide. Okay, once you have it all the way through to the other side, we are going to do like a little lightning bolt stitch to secure this. Okay, so I did my little lightning bolt stitch, and now I'm going to just make sure that the sleeve is good. Then I'm going to snip off the excess here, and I'm going to tuck it under so that it overlaps over the other bias edge. And I'm going to finish this stitch off. I'm going to switch back to a straight stitch on my machine. Okay, so now that we've got our elastic in our sleeve, we are going to attach the sleeve to the bodice. Now, I know that it looks way out of proportion, but that's because we do have the shirring on the bodice. The shirring is meant to stretch, but there's going to be elastic around the upper edge too, so that'll make everything squinched in at some point. But for now, we are going to add our sleeve to this bodice. So matching up your notches and your seam allowances, we're going to do that right now. Okay, all right. So we're going to take this to our sewing machine and sew it down at 5/8. Okay, so now that you've attached both sleeves, I know it looks a little crazy because the sleeves are like bigger than the bodice right now, but we are going to enclose these raw edges. So just like how we did the hem of our sleeves, you're going to do a narrow 1/4 inch, and then you'll fold this down again into 5/8 all the way around, and you're going to leave a 2-inch opening, preferably somewhere along the sleeve. And so we'll do that now. Okay, now that we've pinned everything, go ahead and sew this around out on the edge here, and I would leave like a 2-inch opening right here along one of the sleeves, so that way you can insert the casing at some point. Okay, so now we are going to attach our elastic through the neck, through the casing we just made. You should have measured this with the pattern piece for the elastic upper part. And so go ahead and take a safety pin and funnel this through the neckline. After you've funneled the elastic through, go ahead and do that lightning bolt stitch that we did where you overlap the elastic, and the final step will be to close that 2-inch opening that you made earlier. So for pattern pieces 6 and 7, the front and back panty pieces, go ahead and do a 5/8 stitch down the sides here and then press the seams open. On the legs of the pants, we're going to do another 1/4 inch narrow hem followed by 5/8 rolled up. That way we can do another casing for the legs, for the elastic on the legs here. Okay, so like I was saying before, the 1/4 inch and the 5/8 inch. Now you're going to stitch along the edge here, and this will prepare the leg openings for the casings. After you finish stitching down the edges of the casings, take an elastic piece measured by the leg opening pattern piece and funnel it through the leg openings like we've been doing for the sleeves and the neckline. So now I have put the casing or put the elastic inside of the leg casings, and I did little basting stitches at the raw edges there so that way the casing doesn't come out. Now the way that you can tell that this is the front is that the front is shorter than the back. Now we are going to attach the bodice to to the bottoms, which I know looks like an impossible task because the bodice is quite small, but it does have quite a bit of elasticity in here. So we are going to attach this and then keep going. Okay, so the key to ensuring that you are matching up your notches and things is definitely focusing on the bottom edge and not the shearing, of course. So I'm making sure that I am matching up those notches. So at the waistline, we'll be making another casing. So your first stitch is going to be a 1/4 inch from the raw edge, and then your second stitch is going to be 5/8 from that raw edge. So go ahead and do that now. And now we're going to do the second row. And for the second row, I am leaving a 2-inch opening at the end of the stitch. All right, so using pattern piece number 8 for the elastic guide, go ahead and cut your elastic piece down, and through the opening that you left in your casing, go ahead and funnel it through. Okay, so I did work a little bit out of order here, but I wanted to attach everything and then do our snaps. That way it just made a little bit more sense. All right, so I've already pinned in place where the top one is supposed to go. So the pinball one, so that's the one with the little ball on top, is going to go on the front edge. And you're going to fold the front edge under by a 1/4 inch, and this will go right over that 1/4 inch raw edge. Then for this one, which is the bottom, you are going to fold it under on the outside, so on the right side. And then you are going to, I like to fold in the edges here because the edges are raw. And you're going to fold it in on this side as well. Okay. So that way when you snap it down, this snaps like this, and there'll be an overlap like that. So now we are going to take this to our machine, and very slowly, using our zipper foot, we are going to stitch down on the edges of our snap tape. Okay, so now very carefully with the pinball snap tape, move your needle to the edge of this. And we're going to have to go really slow with the zipper tape. All right. Putting all of my snaps in place here. 1, 2, 3. And she's good to go, and you're all set. Happy sewing! All right, now if you want to see more videos like this over on the Simplicity channel, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button and sign up for the simplicity.com newsletter, where you can be the first to know about all the updates and new collections. See y'all next time. Bye.